Hey guys, Percolator. In this video, we're going to be continuing setting up our home lab. The goal is to set up Docker, Portainer, and PIHole. We are going to set up Docker and Portainer because they're quite useful in a home lab and it allows us to set up many services simply and cleanly. The first service we are going to be deploying will be PIHole. This will be a whole network ad block of sorts, and it also gives us an easy way to set up local DNS. I prefer this to other solutions due to it being simple and having quite a bit of experience with it. In the last video, we set up a VM and I showed you how to create snapshots or backups of that VM. The first thing that we would like to go ahead and do is go ahead and make sure we have a good snapshot of that VM. So we would like to go to the Docker container as we named it and go down to backup. In here, you should go ahead and hit backup now and go ahead and create a snapshot if you have not already done so. This will be a good place to come back if you really mess something up and not want to reprovision the entire VM. Now that we have a backup, we can go ahead and start working on installing Docker onto this VM. What we need to do first is make sure the VM is running. In order to do this, we click the VM and go over to console. In here, you should see something such as this, where it'll say Percolator at Thundercracker in our case. Now, what we'd like to do is go ahead and SSH into this machine so that we can go ahead and start installing Docker. In order to SSH in this machine, you can use something like PuTTY if you're on Windows, but in my case, since we're on Linux, I'm just going to go ahead and use my command line. And we're going to go ahead and run SSH Percolator at 192.168.0.30 because this is the IP address of that machine. When prompted, go ahead and enter the password of the user in which we're logging in as, and you'll get the welcome message that we've gotten in the past. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we are up to date, and we're going to go ahead and run sudo apt update and sudo apt disk upgrade. After this, it will be prompted with a password. Enter the password, and we're going to go ahead and make sure we're nice and up to date before we get started. Now that we know that everything is up to date, we can go ahead and work on installing Docker. In order to do this, we're going to head over to the Docker website. On the Docker website, we're going to be using the section that says install using the apt repository. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and copy and paste this into our terminal and go ahead and run this command. Now, copying and pasting things off the internet is not generally a good idea, but since this is from the Docker official documentation, it should be fine. What this script does is it goes ahead and adds the official GPG keys from Docker, and then after that, it adds the repo to the apt sources. So all we're going to do is paste that in and press enter. After this is done, we should have the repos ready to go. Now that it's done installing, we can head back over to the website. And we can scroll down to where it says install Docker packages. Here, we can install the latest Docker version by copy and pasting this command. This will go ahead and install the latest Docker version as well as Docker Compose. If you get a pop-up, go ahead and press enter. Now that took a few seconds. After we've done that, we're going to go ahead and run back over to the website and we're going to grab this last command. This command verifies that Docker Engine has been installed successfully by running the hello world image. So in order to do that, we'll head back over to our terminal and we'll go ahead and paste this in and press enter. As you can see, it'll pull the command, and to generate this message, it took the following steps and hello from Docker. If you see the hello from Docker, we know that we were successful in this installation. Now that we have Docker installed successfully, we're going to go ahead and install Portainer. In order to do this, we're going to head over to the Portainer website, which I'll have linked in the video description. In here, there's a introduction as well as how to deploy it. You may want to read over all of this, and I would highly recommend doing so. The thing that which we need to do first is go ahead and create a Docker volume. In order to do this, we're going to go to Docker volume create Portainer data. This is where Portainer will be storing all the data for Portainer and all of its containers that it needs. Now, I've already run this command, and as you see, we get an issue that says Docker volume create, and then after that, we get a permission deny. The reason being is we need to add the user to the Docker group, the user being Percolator. If not, we need to run this as sudo. If you run this as sudo, it will work, or we can add ourselves to the Docker user group. The Docker user group was already created for us. However, if it was not, you can type in the sudo group add, and then the name of the group that you like to add. In our case, it would be Docker. And as you can see, it already exists for us. So since it already exists, all we need to do is add our user. So to do this, we do sudo user mod -ag, capital G, Docker, and the username, or you can use user. Now we should be added. In order to make this apply, we need to go ahead and exit. And we need to go ahead and log back in. This will refresh our connection, and now we should be part of the Docker group. Check this, we can do ID. And as you can see down bottom at 99, we are part of the Docker group. Now that we're part of the Docker group, we can go ahead and run that command we did earlier. Docker volume create Portainer data. Now it creates the Portainer data, unlike earlier. Now that we have the Portainer data created, we can go down here to download and set up the Portainer Docker instance. And there's two versions, there's business and community. We're going to be using community today because I don't want to get into setting up the business version. And all you're going to do is go ahead and paste in that command and press enter. Once you press enter, it'll go ahead and pull all of what it needs in order to set up that Docker container. Now that we have Portainer running, all we need to do is head over to our web browser, open a new tab, and go to our IP address followed by the port. The port in this case would be :9443, and in this command we set it as 9443 right here, so you can go to that port in order to access your Portainer instance. So once we do that, we press enter, and we'll get the security warning just like we did in Proxmox and all the other things since we don't have certificates yet. Press advanced, go to accept the risk and continue, and you'll be brought to Portainer. From here, we can go ahead and set up Portainer, the username, password, and password. I'm going to go ahead and create these off camera so that I'll have them in my Bitwarden for easy use. Now that I have the password and the username set up in my Bitwarden, I can autofill, and we can go ahead and create user. Once the user is created, you'll be met with this menu, and you'll see nothing here. In order to get something, you need to go ahead and hit get started. Once hit get started, you'll see your local instance. We can go ahead and click on our local instance, and this will show you all the information that we have about our local instance. This is all the information that we have on the Docker stack in which we're running on the local machine. From here, we can go ahead and click the containers button over here, and we can see that we have two containers running locally. Now, this container right here, practical whatever, should be the hello world container image, and as we can tell it is. If we want to go ahead and get rid of that, we can check the box and go ahead and hit remove. We can go ahead and also hit the little box that says automatically remove non-persistent volumes and hit remove. Now we don't have that container taking up space on our system. Now we have Portainer and Docker up and running. From here, you can install whatever Docker images you would like, and you can use Portainer to manage and deploy them easily. We're going to go ahead and move on to installing PIHole from here. The first step to install PIHole is head over to the PIHole website, PIHole.net. From here, go ahead and click Docker install, and then we're going to go ahead and scroll up to where we see quick start. Go ahead and copy this and go over here to Portainer and press stack. Go ahead and press add stack, and then we're going to give it PIHole as its name and paste this in. Now, later we're going to come back and edit this file, but first there's a problem that's going to happen if we go ahead and try to deploy the stack. Whenever we hit deploy stack, we're going to get a huge error over here. This error is going to say at the very end, listening TCP4 000:53 find address is already in use. In order to fix this, we're going to head back over to the PIHole GitHub where we got the thing from, and we're going to scroll down to where we find Fedora and Ubuntu. Now that we found installing Ubuntu and Fedora, we're going to go ahead and copy this first command. I would highly recommend reading over this so you understand exactly what's happening here, but it's has something to do with systemd resolve, which is normally used to cache DNS subresolver. But we're going to be moving over to here and pasting this command in. It will probably prompt you to enter your sudo password here. After that, we're going to go down and copy the next command, which is here, and then paste it in. After that, we're going to go ahead and restart the service. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. It'll ask for password if you do not do it as sudo. So I'm going to go ahead and do it as a sudo user. After that, we're going to go ahead and go edit the net plan. Now, in order to edit our net plan, we're going to head over to our terminal, and we're going to go sudo nano-etc-netplan 00-install-configure YAML. Once in here, we're going to head down to address, and we're going to get rid of both of these addresses, and what we have in our case, these are both the Google DNS, and we're going to set this to our local address. So how we do that is press space, and we're going to do square bracket 127.0.0 1 and then square bracket. From here, we go ahead and press Control O, press enter, and press Control X. Now, all we have to do is apply. So in order to do this, we do sudo net plan apply. That should apply all of our net plan settings, and we should be okay to continue our installation of PIHole. Now that we're ready to install PIHole after fixing that error, we can go over to the quick start guide, copy this, and go back over to stacks like we had before, and paste it in, as well as giving it a name. Once we have that pasted in, we can go ahead and start editing this so that it's better for what we're going to be using it for. In my case, I'm not going to be using DHCP, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this line. And I want to go ahead and change the port that I access the PIHole on to 8080 instead of 80. I don't necessarily want anything to be on port 80. I would like everything to be on other ports, so we're just going to use port 8080. For the time zone, I'm going to go ahead and change this to New York. After setting the time zone, we have one last field we need to go ahead and change, and that is the web password. You can go ahead and remove this, and you can go ahead and set this as it says to a secure password, or it will be random. I prefer setting my own password because I use Bitwarden, but you may like to let it set it and then just grab the password from it. But in my case, I'm going to set it to my Bitwarden password. For now, we're just going to set it to password. After we have our password set, we can go down to deploy the stack, go ahead and press deploy stack, and we shouldn't have that error. We should now have a success, whereas before we had that error. Now, in order to access our PIHole instance, we can open a new tab and go to the IP address of the server, 192.168.0.30 in my case, and we can go to port 8080. This will give us a forbidden thing. So how you normally fix this in PIHole is you do /admin. This will bring you to the correct page now. I had a little bit of an issue with this, just going to the right port, and doing the /admin thing is normally how you get to it. From here, I'm going to enter my password and click the button that says remember me for 7 days. Now I'm going to be showing you how to add a block list. I'm only going to be showing you how to add one block list, but if you want to add 100, it'll be the same process, or if you want to add 3, it'll be the same process. I don't recommend blocking everything, because if you do, it's pretty hard to get to websites that are blocked. So in order to do this, I'm going to be using fireblock.net. This is a list of block lists, and it's a big list of block lists that are all pretty alright. Generally, the ones in green won't get you in trouble. The blue are a little bit more, it might break some things on the internet, and the ones that are scored through, you probably shouldn't use. Also, at the bottom, there's some whitelist suggestions. I would definitely go ahead and whitelist all of these, and I'll show you how to whitelist the short URL shorteners, as well as there is a commonly whitelisted domain. Under commonly whitelisted domains, there are a bunch of commonly whitelisted domains. I'd recommend adding these if you need them. It's kind of up to you if you need them or not. If things on your internet start to break and you can't get to certain websites, you may want to go through here and check to see if any of these could fix it. So in order to add a block list, we're going to go ahead and head over to Firelistblog or fireblog.net, and we're just going to go ahead and add this top one. We're going to go ahead and copy it, and we're going to go to PIHole. Once in PIHole, we're going to go to add list. In add list, the address, we're going to go ahead and paste in the link. If you want to add these in bulk, you can separate them by space. And in the comment, I normally just add where I got it from. So in this case, I'm going to do Fireblog. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and press add, and it'll be added to your block list. However, does this not mean that it's actually working? In order to update this, in order to make it work, you need to update your gravity. In order to update gravity, you go over here to tools, and you go to update gravity. Once you're in update gravity, you hit the big update button. And if you have a lot, it'll take a while. If you're only updating one, like in this case, you'll have success after just a few seconds. Once you've done that, you can head over to dashboard, and you can see that the number of domains on our ad list have went up, and that means we're going to be blocking more stuff. Block lists are good and all, but in order to use them, we actually have to set it as our default DNS address. In order to do this, we're going to head over to our router. In my case, I'm using OpenSense. If you're not using OpenSense, then this part of the tutorial will not be very useful for you. What I'd recommend doing is looking up the model of the router that you're using and find out how to set up your DNS. Now, after you find out how to do that, you need to go ahead and change it. In my case, we would go to services DHCP version 4, land, and then under DNS, we set this to the IP address of our new DNS server. In our case, it would be 192.168.0.30. But for you, it may be something different. After this, we go down to press save. And after it's saved, this should propagate out through DHCP based off of however long your lease is. Back inside of PIHole, we can check that we're actually using our DNS by going over here to Total Queries and clicking Active Clients. Under Active Clients, I see a few IP addresses, and I just happen to know that this IP address is the IP address of my local machine. If I head over to my local machine's terminal and I do IP-addr, I can see that my IP address is listed right here and it is .91. And as we can see, that matches this IP address, meaning that my DNS is now set to PIHole. Another important step that we need to do is go through our Proxmox and TrueNAS installs and make sure that they have the correct DNS set up. Because they're static IP addresses, I need to make sure that they're actually set to the right DNS, since DHCP can't propagate out through things that aren't using DHCP. So in this case, we're going to head over to Megatron, we're going to go to DNS, and we're going to go to Edit. Now, when I set up this server initially, I could have set this to 192.168.0.1, and as soon as it updated in my router, it would have updated here, but I had it set to 8.8.8.8, and you can also set it to 192.168.0.30. However, if this IP address was to ever change, you would have to update it again. So it is better to go ahead and set this to the .1 address and just set it to our router in my case. Some routers won't like this setting, and they would much prefer you to set it directly to the DNS if you're using PIHole. You just kind of have to play with it. Sometimes this can be an issue. I did have a router once before that setting it to the router's IP address would never actually get me to the PIHole instance. So in this case, it should be fine, however. So we're going to go ahead and press OK. Once we've done that, we're going to go over here and go to Updates and press Refresh. Press OK. And as long as you're getting gets or hits, you should be fine. After that, you can go ahead and check by updating, and in this case, we may update later. Now to update the DNS in TrueNAS, all you need to do is go to TrueNAS, Network, Global Configuration, and click Settings. And then under the DNS servers, you can set the DNS server here. In my case, it's already set to 192.168.0.1, but if you were had to set it to 8.8.8.8, then you could update it now and go ahead and move it over to point towards your router. Now, one issue I like to go ahead and mention is if you're using your router on all of your static IP addresses, as we are doing in Proxmox and on TrueNAS by setting it to 192.168.0.1, then all of those will only show up as one IP address, and that will be the IP address of the gateway. So in this case, it will be 192.168.0.1. And that's fine. However, it does make it a little bit hard to track down which machine is actually querying what on DNS. The last thing that we're going to be looking at inside of PIHole is setting up local DNS. In order to do this, we're going to go to the left-hand side, go down to local DNS, and click DNS records. In here, we have two fields to fill out, one being the IP address, the other being the domain. The domain that we're going to be using is going to be thundercracker.com. And we're going to go over to IP address, and we're going to go enter the IP address of both the Portainer and the PIHole. Since they're both running on the same machine under different containers, we can access both of them by entering the same address. So 192.168.0.30. Once that's done, we can go ahead and press add. We can copy the domain, hit open new tab, and it won't work. Why is that? Well, that's because it's not on the right ports, because your web browser default looks at port 80 and port 443, and we've changed those. So we need to go ahead and give it the port. So in order to get to the Portainer instance, we go ahead and give it a :443. Once we've done that, we can press enter, and we get the security risk ahead. Go ahead and accept that, and we end up in our Portainer instance, and it'll ask us to log in. Since this is also the same thing that we are on for our PIHole instance, we can go ahead and enter the PIHole and then go admin and go to, oh, it's not HTTPS, we need to get rid of that, excuse me, and it'll take us to PIHole. That's kind of the use of local DNS, is that you can set your own local DNS record, so you don't have to remember IP addresses, you can just remember the names of what you're using. Docker, Portainer, and PIHole are all staples in homelabing, and projects I use quite often. Now that we have them set up, feel free to play with them and tinker. I would recommend creating a snapshot of your VM in case you would like to roll back from an accident that you may or may not have. In the next video, we will be setting up Nginx reverse proxy with wildcard certs. If you enjoy this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps motivate me to make more content. Also, let me know how I can improve my content going forward.